This is Talk Easy. I'm Sam Fragoso. Welcome to the show. Jerrod Carmichael.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you feeling?
This is already great. It had like the Phantom Thread score playing. We've talked Harold Budd. We've talked Dave Brubeck. I feel comfortable. I have an iced green tea.
It's been a couple years since you dropped Rathaniel.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who haven't seen it, it's this brilliant confessional stand-up special where you came out and talked candidly about your sexuality. And when people would ask you to explain the special, to essentially like describe the premise, you said the synopsis of Rathaniel should really be man who's afraid of heights jumps out of an airplane on HBO.
Yeah. I was facing my biggest fear.
How would you describe the synopsis of the Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show?
I found more planes. I got more planes. I'm still afraid of heights.
Like you went to a hangar.
I went to a hangar. Okay. In preparing for Rathaniel, I was using the stage to deal with personal problems, to contend with problems. And coming out, obviously, huge. I was closeted. So I was like, leading up to that special, I was like coming out in like clubs around the country, like leading up to it, just like to the shock of the audience, like over and over, night after night, just like coming out at City Winery, coming out. And
I'm just imagining you like going to city after city.
Just a tour of coming out, just Yonder Phone coming out. And people were respectful. People, I think only like one person like tweeted about it or something, but for the most part, people wouldn't say.
So strangers in the audience knew you were gay before your parents did.
So the timeline was, I came out to my parents and it was a negative reaction, and then I spiraled for a long time. And dealing with that, I was dealing with that through Rathaniel. I was like really sad around Christmas time of 21, and I hadn't done stand-up in maybe a year and a half, I want to say. I hadn't done it consistently in maybe 2 years. And I thought it was, I didn't think I was going to do it anymore. And I went to the Comedy Store. I was staying at my friend's house, and I was sad, and I decided to just go to the Comedy Store. And I just went up and I just said I was gay. And then I started, and then I had
Did you know you were going to say that before you went on stage?
I knew I needed to use it as a tool. I needed to use it as a way to deal with a personal problem. That's where it began. And then a really transformative set. Bo and I went to...
This is Bo Burnham.
Yes. We went to Flappers. This was like a week before Christmas in 21. And we were just in the car, and he just told me to like say something memorable. Like, cause he came to a Comedy Store set and I was just all over the place. And he was like, just say something that the audience won't forget. And I talked about not going home for Christmas. I said, I don't think I want to go home for Christmas. And it's a big deal for me, Christian boy from the South, very close to my family. It was the first time I ever skipped Christmas. Ever in my life. That's like unheard of. And I talked that out with the crowd, and me and Bo knew that night, we're like, oh, this is going to happen really fast. This is going to happen really quickly. And so then I worked on what became Rathaniel between Christmas and Valentine's Day. And we filmed it shortly after Valentine's Day of 22. All that to say, I've been dealing with personal problems on stage in that way even since Rathaniel. Having feelings for a friend, questioning my own ethics as a friend, still issues with the relationship with my parents. I got into a relationship, definitely dealing with relationship problems and things on stage all the time. And I was curious about, all right, what's the follow through of that? So I got this deal with HBO.
The follow through of man.
The problem, yeah.
The man who's
contending
the follow
with
through of man afraid of heights jumps out of airplane.
Yes, yeah, because I kept jumping out of these planes, like on stage. Like my sets would be, like there would be material, but a lot of it would be rooted around I got this text, or I had this phone call, or I have this problem. There was a lot of things I was in the closet about. I think everybody's in the closet about something. And there are different issues, there are different things that you may be afraid to face. And art, the stage, stand-up was an outlet for me. So, okay, I have these personal problems. I'm talking about it on stage. That's not solving them, right? And at the same time, I had this deal with HBO. And I'd written a sitcom about my life, contending with things, talking about my family, kind of going around. But I started living more truthful than that. And that bled into my stand-up. And I figured, instead of writing a show, fictionalizing my parents, fictionalizing my friends, fictionalizing my relationship.
Which you had done on the Carmichael Show, a sitcom for NBC from like 2015 to 2017.
Yes, I did the classic sitcom.
Norman Lear inspired the whole thing.
Yeah, 3-camera setup, audience. So instead of writing the show again, the fictionalized version of the show, I figured that just doing it for real would be far more interesting. And I had a feeling it would still play out like a sitcom.
You think this reality show plays out like a sitcom?
In a way, I think it does. I think you start with a problem. The main character has to contend with a problem. You try and learn something by the end. I never maybe
not in a network sitcom.
Well, in the network sitcom, I fought against like the unrealistic turn. You're supposed to take an unrealistic emotional turn at the end of.
They're supposed to learn something.
You're supposed to learn something at the end of a
Who wants
show.
to do that?
Yeah, and I was I was definitely more of the Seinfeld no hugs. But I still wanted, you still had to move somewhere. There had to be movement. For me, the movement is the anxiety of the conversation that I'm facing. Having the conversation. Sometimes there's growth from it. Sometimes it's just a clash and it ends, silent. But I still had it. I still had it. And it's the journey to the conversation.
You mentioned that you had all these issues that you wanted to work through. For those that haven't seen it yet, or maybe only seen one or two, what are those issues? What are the top of mind issues you wanted to work out?
So I told a really close friend of mine that I had feelings for him, and we weren't able to talk about it.
Tyler, the creator.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a difficult thing, because it's awkward. Like, it's an embarrassing situation to be in. The feelings were unrequited. So it's not like
unrequited love.
Yeah. And it was a really difficult position to be in, because it wasn't just that it was unrequited, it was that we couldn't get past the awkwardness to have a conversation about it.
The reason I wanted to talk to you on camera is that I kind of felt like a distance between us. I have an idea of what it is, but what I think made it awkward is because I told you I had feelings for you, and we didn't talk about it ever. That was like weird. I don't know if it was just too awkward to talk about or too. I don't know. Like, it's just like, I feel like you left me hanging out there a little bit.
Like when you said that, I think I replied with like something super mad, normal, regular, like.
You laughed and called me a stupid bitch.
I did. Yeah, I did. I did. And I think I just like brushed it off.
I know.
Yeah. Getting news like that and then avoiding it is a way to avoid change.
So you were avoiding it?
I never said that I wasn't. That was a lot to download. And now we're here. and I still don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of got dismissed. And that's a really tough place for me. That's how I feel with my family. Like, with my family, like, I came out and then we weren't able to talk about it. And so the conversations with Tyler, similar to the conversation with my dad, was getting past the small talk into what's real, to the thing that I really, really want to say when we're having a meal that I'm afraid to say. I'm really, really afraid to say these things because it feels like I could ruin the relationship beyond repair. And so I just don't say it, but I want to say it. And so then the relationship feels like a lie. And I was living in a few lies.
Does the camera embolden you to ask questions that you would otherwise not ask in private?
The camera encourages me to be vulnerable. I built up a shell, like a hard exterior, to protect myself. I was closeted. There were issues in my life that I was afraid to face. I think a lot of it was rooted in my idea of masculinity. I was never really vulnerable. I needed to be right all the time. And after coming out, it forced me into a place of vulnerability that felt good. A sex therapist recently told me that I'm only submissive through my work. That, because we were talking about like topping and bottoming, and I've never bottomed before, and I'm sure there's a lot of like reasons. There's a lot of psychological reasons why not. But the sex therapist was like, "Oh, well, you're really mostly submissive in your work. Like on stage, I'm submissive. When me and my boyfriend get into arguments, he says that I offer no concessions. Cause I want to be right, and because he's smart, and I want to prove how smart I am when I'm arguing with him. But on stage is where I offer the concession. When I get on stage, I'm able to say I was wrong about this. I'm able to say, this is where he hurt my feelings. This is where I feel afraid, and that's my outlet.
Why can you do that so easily in public? And why is it so hard for you to do in private?
I've been trying to figure that out. The cameras and the stage, two things. They give purpose to the words, and audiences, like cameras, can always see the truth. When you're on stage, if you're performing, if you're nervous and you don't say you're nervous, the audience still knows you're nervous. They can see it. And so your existence is a lie until you state the truth. Like, and you're still performing nervous. And even if they can't put their finger on exactly what you're hiding, they know you're hiding something. Like, they can see performance offer. Like, that's why good acting is like, people are offering truthful performances. I was just with Emma Stone in a movie, and I watched her go to a really honest place before scenes.
And then,
yes. And then I watched her show that, like, show a very vulnerable piece of herself to the world. And it was so impressive, like watching someone have that level of skill, but also access to that level of vulnerability and the courage to show that to a camera, because it's going to see it anyway. Meanwhile, I was like trying to be cool, and so it could see that you're trying to be cool, and so it's not, the camera is a lie detector.
You seem more comfortable in this show than you did in that film.
Oh, 100%. I wish that I'd filmed it after the show. The show completely changed my relationship to cameras.
You could do a better job now.
Oh, 100%. But it's definitely, I was always on the other side of the camera trying to maintain control, not submitting. I was afraid to submit. And for many reasons, industry reasons, because I was always the writer, I was always the producer, I was always the director. So I always had reason to be on the other side of the camera, worried about the whole thing.
You've said actors shouldn't be producers in their own films.
They should never do that.
But you're a producer of this show.
I'm not in the editing room.
Okay.
I'm a producer by nature. Like, it was an idea that I had. Yeah, it's an idea I have. I think especially, I've seen and went through the process with actors who are, because you get really precious.
Right.
Same reason I'm not in the editing room is the reason actors shouldn't produce, because you get really, really precious, and you try and build this likable character.
You
right?
get precious about things that don't actually contribute to making a good piece of art.
You take out the things that make it art.
That are thorny and
the things
upsetting.
that make it interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's what's shocking about the show is like people can't believe that I'm presenting like at times unlikable characters. So people are like trying to process it like it's a lot of like moral judgment.
You saying people can't believe is like the understatement of the century. People on Twitter, they've lost their minds a little bit watching this show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're confused as to why you would cast yourself as the kind of villain of this story, which is, I know you described yourself that way.
Well, I think it's human, even more than it's a villain. It's like it's human. I think that's what is interesting about us. And I think people are used to being lied to.
Right. In film or in life?
In film, like all the like artists now across all the forms of art are all kind of running for president. And it's funny because the only time you hear someone speaking honestly are the actual presidential candidates. It's like the artists are running for president and then like Trump is speaking like an artist. It's kind of backward.
Why is that?
Money. Fear of trending negatively because it can hurt. It doesn't always feel good. This rule in culture now that you are supposed to agree with the person you're watching politically. It's not. I think there are other ways to process art. The art that I love, I have complicated feelings toward the person I'm watching. I mean, I don't like watch The Sopranos, but Tony's killed people.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's what, he's killed people and he loves his wife and he loves his children and he's manipulative and he's lying in therapy and that's what makes him an interesting character.
People have complicated feelings about The Sopranos.
Yeah.
No question.
Yes.
But I think when they're watching your show, they're going, this wasn't written by David Chase.
Yeah.
James Gandolfini is not Tony Soprano. And so when they're watching you in therapy and you having all these complicated feelings and there being some deceit, there seems to be a lot of questions around why would he expose the less than flattering parts of himself so publicly?
Because it's true.
And that to you is the most important no matter what.
Yeah, I'm trying to make art out of truth. That's the material that I'm playing with, like all of me.
But the other characters are not played by actors.
Yeah, but I love that. That's actually what makes the show super interesting to me because it's people you would never see. And they're not hamming it up for the camera. They don't have the desire. My boyfriend wants nothing to do with it. It's only through his love of me that he's on here. My mom doesn't want anything to do with it. My dad doesn't want anything to do with it.
Their love for you is why they're there.
Yes.
How do you feel now that people are taking these like very precious things in your life that are your people and your relationships, and now it's like being run through the Twitter conveyor belt?
Yeah. A lot of.
How do you hold that?
It is exciting. It is exciting, and I'm not even because
I just want to give you a hug now.
Well, I'm not above saying that there are things that have made me feel bad. Of course,
okay. What's made you feel bad?
I criticism is sometimes hard to receive. Really, more being misunderstood makes me feel bad. Anytime people have incorrect information and run with it, that makes me feel bad because I am offering so much truth that it's like. No, I mean, you can criticize and have your feelings toward the truth. You have that right, just as I have the right to show it. But, I don't, it doesn't feel good to be lied on or lied about. That doesn't feel good. And some of the assessments I think are so correct. I've been joking with my friends that I think like haters are my biggest supporters.
What do you mean by that?
Like just that the people that just,
what's the assessment that you've read that you thought, okay, that's on something. That's onto something.
Well, like, why is he doing this? Like, because because I feel like I relate so much to the average person on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, who posts so much about their life in an effort to be seen and in hopes of being understood and like searching for community and searching to show themselves. But I'm like not showing, it's still curated, it's still a show.
That's right.
But I'm showing things that most people hide. And so in a sense, even acknowledging that makes me feel okay because you do see me. Like my parents don't talk about the show. My mom, we talked after episode 1. They just don't talk about it because I show so much that they don't want to see that it just goes unacknowledged. That feels worse to me than somebody on Twitter saying he's not a good person.
When your sitcom came out on NBC, did your parents tell people to watch it?
They told anybody who came to the house, anybody at IHOP, everybody, you know, son got a show on NBC. Like, you know, we had billboards around town. They were so proud of it.
They were the street team for it.
They were the street team. So proud of it. They came by the set just like very, 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 very proud of it. Because,
and this show?
You can't get them to acknowledge that it's on.
They're like Max? I've never heard of that.
Yeah. In fact, I was home for like a couple months ago before the show came out, and I got my mom a new Apple TV, and she asked, like, she had me set it up, and she asked for every password except HBO, like, want no parts of it, you know, because it's a truth that it is a lot of true things in there that are that's the reason for the show is like they kind of show why I needed to make it in the first place.
Did you ask her why you won't download the app?
Yeah, I mean, I asked, you know, even more directly. Like, I asked, "Are you gonna tell your friends about the show? Like, are you gonna, you know?" And they're like, "No, they'll see it. They'll see it if they, you know, they'll come across it if they see it." Because it's things that are uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable show. I show parts of myself that are embarrassing. I show things that, and it's only embarrassing because it's things that my parents don't approve of, you know. Yeah, that's hurtful. That hurts me. And so it does make me just go like, okay, well, let's just put it on television. Like, let's put the things that we can't talk about on TV. I'm trying to be as public as I lived privately. Right. And as private as my parents have lived. And that's why I kind of take the right to tell the story. They both sign off on it too. I'm not like just doing it against their will. But it's therapy. It's a form of therapy.
Except you're being paid for it.
Yeah. They're being paid for it indirectly.
New kitchen.
Or kind of directly. Yeah, actually, I'm being nice. Like, yeah, they're being paid pretty directly.
Socks drawer?
Oh, yeah. At one point, I went broke. My parents had more money in savings than me.
I'm sorry.
Like, at one point, they had more money.
And did they give it to the church?
Oh, yeah, weekly. My mom's.
So they got you.
Doing tithes and offering. Yeah. God gets a percentage of our money, I guess.
The nature of the show, we're talking about it in both like a micro sense and then a macro sense. I want to play a clip from the opening episode between you and your friend. We're going to call him a Bo Burnham-like figure.
Are we talking about Anonymous?
Anonymous, yeah.
Anonymous remains anonymous.
Where you two talk about the thesis of what you're doing here.
Yeah.
That show. Can we take a look at that?
Let's do it.
To me, these cameras, it's like there's fucking sarin gas in the room, and I'm masked up. Because I'm not exposing myself to this shit.
Well, none of this was...
This is not a neutral eye. This is not truth. This is narrative that'll be edited by someone where the editing, those will all be choices. That's not truth. Like, and I have no access to that. So I'm like, fuck that. You don't get any of me.
I'm trying to Truman Show myself, like trying to let cameras be what like God is.
It's exhibitionist.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that?
There's public and private, and then there's masturbatorily public. You know what I mean? There's public, which is like unnecessarily shooting a camera up your fucking asshole and broadcasting it to the world. You have a sort of self-destructive thing in you that can be channeled into stuff that's exciting and alive. But like, I care about you beyond this thing.
In that clip, your anonymous friend equates the cameras and their presence to sarin gas, like the poison used in chemical warfare. But you seem to view the cameras a lot differently. Like, are they a source of oxygen?
Oh, it's liberating. The cameras are liberating because it's going to capture the truth. Listen, I was performing off camera. Like, the gas in the room was Thanksgiving with my family. Like, that's when I felt like I was suffocating.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because I was just living in small talk. I was avoiding anything uncomfortable because I was afraid. And I lived in that fear, and I had no excuse. I had no way out. I felt trapped. And the cameras gave me an excuse to say exactly what I've needed to say for a long time. And that's freeing. That feels really good. Cameras are strange. I won't take that away. It's a strange thing. I think it may become more and more common the more I see people facing their camera, talking about their lives, like more and more. I think there's a generation who won't know life without like the camera, like speaking to a camera. I see it in my niece. Like my niece becomes like, she watches so many YouTube videos and learns the language, like just like, hey guys, you know, and there is a whole generation addicted to that. I mean, allow me to be the first person to say that. But
are you addicted to it?
Yeah, I'm sure it is an addiction. The cameras make me feel really good. So cameras make me feel good. I don't know if that's an addiction as much as it's a release and an outlet and a place to go be honest. The internet is, I'm lucky to be old enough to think of the internet as a place that I went to.
Right.
And so
not a place you were born into.
I wasn't born into the internet. We had AOL dial-up on Windows 95, and I visited until my mom had to get on the phone. And then I had to leave the internet and be in the world. And so I still kind of view it as that, but more and more I'm definitely immersed in it and reading things about myself and the Google alerts and the tweets and the TikToks, and yeah, and sometimes I have to just like not do that. It's not the healthiest thing in the world. It's entertaining, it's thrilling, it's very fun. It was like, oh man, a bunch of people are saying a bunch of things all the time.
But when those things are negative,
yeah,
and a lot of them have been in the last few weeks,
yeah,
how are you managing that?
I think a lot of what being called not a good person doesn't feel bad to me. Even in the Carmichael show, I always took the position, kind of like the asshole's position, right? In my stand-up, like the unlikable position. So I don't mind that as much. And I do interpret it as people trying to understand why, the reasons behind it. So a lot of, like, to me, like I was like looking through Twitter earlier. To me, this is like a good Twitter day. It's just a lot of like, he shouldn't be doing this. Because I've also seen what the internet loves. I'm like, okay, I'm like, well, who do you like? And it's usually people who don't reveal the truth. Like, they really love that. They like they want the star that they could project a truth onto, or who appeases them, like it aligns with them politically. And I didn't sign up for that. And he's not a good person. I'm like, well, you know, I do think upon self-reflection, I think anyone could find things that the internet would call not good. And I think that's what makes it a compelling show. So I can kind of rest easy in those types of criticisms. Like even the positive reviews for the show, like there's like reviewers who are just like, it was one, I believe it was a Hollywood Reporter or something, just like the Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show tests its stars likability. I'm like, this is good. This is good. Like, I didn't know you needed to like all the artists.
Right.
Like, I no one's saying that the show isn't well crafted. That would feel bad. No one's saying like this lacks. Like, people are saying that they haven't seen anything like it before. A funny criticism that I've heard is like, we didn't ask for this, and I'm like, do you know the things you ask for? Yeah. The things you ask for, you don't even watch.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't respect. You wouldn't respect the things you ask for. Like, that, I don't think that's my role as an artist or any artist role. Definitely so I'm definitely I'm fighting for artist lib.
My concern is for Jerrod the person.
That's the show. The show is trying to figure out Jerrod the person. Right. Like the internet hasn't called out anything that the show doesn't.
But your comfort with the camera, it seems to me that dates back to your childhood in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because even as a kid, your older brother Joe said, if I was playing ball, Jerrod would be on the side with his camera, taping us, interviewing the players. What about the camera appealed to you as a child in Morningside?
Wow, that was the most personal, beautiful question I've ever got. I don't even know where you would have heard my brother say that. I don't know where he ever said that. You got my neighborhood right. That's that was very beautiful. I've been trying to understand that the camera gave things purpose. It felt like it gave me purpose. I felt like I was supposed to be capturing these moments so they weren't in vain. I always tried to make something of the moment. I always thought that there was magic in little moments that often got overlooked. One of my favorite things when I was a kid was like breaking out the camcorder, just recording us, just doing anything, talking, singing, wrestling, and then watching it back immediately. And you always saw something that you're like, oh, this is the funniest thing in the world. Like, I don't even remember saying that. I don't remember you saying that. But now we're watching it back, and this is gold. The camera is magical. It's a miracle to me. It's a technology I don't even understand, capturing your life and playing it back. That's why it's part of the reason I'm not on social media, because I am precious about that. I'm like, it's like, wait, you capturing my voice, my words, like my words, like my organized thoughts. It's precious.
You would hear yourself every Sunday morning leading the choir in church. But the thing I want to sit with, besides you having a good voice, which you're welcome to demonstrate for us at any time, is that on Wednesday nights, you would go to these prayer meetings.
Wow.
Is this right?
It's like a psychic reading.
It's just a podcast.
Wow. This is the most like organized, thoughtful. Please continue.
Well, it was there at these meetings. You were around all these adults, right?
Yes.
Were those groups your first real kind of audience as a comic?
It's funny. I never thought of it as it relates to stand-up, but in many ways, yes. I've often found myself in a room fighting for what I believed against everyone. Like, and I
making an argument.
I remember I always traced like my stand-up origins to 8th grade. The first week of 8th grade, there was a class discussion, and we were going to have a debate. And my teacher, Mr. Nairi, separated us into two teams. Like, he had us read this article about someone who stole something for a murky reason. And he said, who agrees with this person? And who disagrees? And when he asked who disagrees, everybody in the class raised their hand but me. And then he said, who agrees? And then I raised my hand. And then for 30 minutes, I argued against the class, and it felt, and I believed it. And you have to believe it. That's very, very important, because otherwise it's just trolling.
Did you believe it for the sake of arguing, or did you believe it in your heart?
I believed it in my heart. It was I have to believe it. Otherwise, the argument is flimsy.
Right.
Whatever crafted my perspective, like sometimes it can stand out in a room. In church, being in North Carolina, Southern Black Baptist Church, at some point my view of God changed. And
how do you mean?
It wasn't the God that I was taught. I believed in an internal power that we all have access to. And so I would argue with people who spent time on their knees praying, asking God for favor, and I believed that the power was always ours. And that that prayer wasn't asking, prayer was accepting. And you accepted miracles, you didn't ask for them. And that caused a lot of tension in church. I would go, and they had a children's class downstairs, but I was like a kid, and I'd be upstairs with the adults arguing, just arguing with all the people at Bible study. Just like, no, I don't think that's what Jesus meant.
They're like, oh boy, here comes the precocious child.
Yeah.
Who once again is going to interrogate our deepest
They
beliefs.
were entertained by it. It was funny because...
How do you entertain them?
Well, because I like to believe that they also wanted to agree with me. Like, and I felt this way on stage. So that's why I guess it does tie to stand up. Like, it's fun finding that pocket of something I really believe in and saying it. And the laughter comes from at least understanding my perspective. Like there's a bridge there. Like a bridge has been formed, and the laughter is like, okay, all right.
It's not we agree with you, but we hear you.
We hear you. Right. We hear you.
Right.
Yes.
Which is
all I'm asking for
in this show of yours.
Yes.
We'll get back to that. Those are some of your early experiences performing and trying to persuade. But it's funny because every time you do an interview, like going on the Rick Rubin podcast or the Mark Maron podcast, it's almost like a parody at this point. People go, who are your guys? Who are your influences?
Yeah.
And there's three that you tend to highlight. First one is Sumner Redstone, who created Viacom and was like once the chairman of CBS, is a man born in 1923, was a billionaire. The second one was P. Diddy. I'm just going to let that go. I don't want to talk about it. And the last one is someone who we both loved, which is Norman Lear. I'm wondering, like, these are titans of industry. When you're watching Redstone's 60-minute interview or the behind the music doc for P. Diddy, what about them appealed to you? Like, did their grand visions of themselves inform your own?
Yeah, well, it was exactly that. They manifested a vision, and I thought that was really cool. But like, if I were to update that list in this moment,
let's update it.
My all time is Jay-Z. Huge, influential to me. My brother loved Jay-Z. I have a brother who's 8 years older than me, eight and a half years older than me, and he was an early adopter of Jay-Z's music. Really loved, he loved Biggie, but like Jay-Z, when Jay-Z was signed to Priority Records, like in 95, 96, when Reasonable Doubt came out, like I learned all the lyrics by proxy. And it was about the lyrics, it was about the words, it was about the truth of his words. And Jay-Z's just very smart, very witty, and truthful, and emotionally aware, which is rare in this field. And I kind of apply that to stand up. Like, comedians aren't, it's like rap, a very masculine field where being emotionally aware, being vulnerable in that way can be seen as weak. So comedians try and offer Like, you still need vulnerability for the joke, like in that dynamic, but like how it plays out in comedy, you'll hear a lot of like straight male comics do a lot of gay jokes because being gay is vulnerable in society. So it's instead of accessing their own vulnerability, I did it when I was closeted. I was like, oh, well, hey, well, guess what kind of sex they have? You know, like, instead of offering anything about yourself, because you still need vulnerability. You need to let the air out in some way. And so vulnerability in rap was also rare, and Jay-Z was a vulnerable rapper. And so he's up there. But yeah, that I would update that. Rick, I think about Rick Rubin a lot. He's a friend, but I just think about how open he is creatively and non-judgmental he is. And I really admire that.
All of these people have a clear vision for themselves and how they see their future playing out.
Yes.
So, inspired by them, I want to go to the moment where your sister gets you a one-way cheapo ticket.
Cheapo air.
To Los Angeles.
Yes.
You land August 8th, 2008.
Yes.
That's a Friday.
Yes.
By Sunday night.
The beginning of the Beijing Olympics.
I didn't have that in my notes.
All right.
I believe you.
Yeah.
By Sunday night, you're on stage at the Comedy Store, performing at their open mic. Do you remember that set?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it because I spoke really, really fast, and I was very nervous. It was daylight, and the Comedy Store, I think they still have this in the original room. It's a tough room. In the summertime, there's this giant window. The sun is shining through. There's no audience members at this open mic, and I'm up first. So I'm up first to no one. Comics in the very back of the room.
Terrible.
Sun is shining. I'm speaking really fast. I get off stage. It's a blur. I think I said the N-word 17 times somehow, just as a crutch. Yeah, no, that was rough, but loving it. And then I found a groove pretty quickly. I was actually thinking about this a lot lately because my boyfriend's a writer, and he makes me appreciate the written word. And I've been reflecting on how important that's been to me in my career. And my maybe second or third open mic was at the Improv. And I remember that's when it clicked. It clicked pretty quickly for me. Like I developed this. I actually was sitting down. I used to sit down when I started. And in part because I would always write my set. I would get really inspired and just write the set out all in one go. Either before getting to the mic, sometimes I'd have to like leave the room, and I would just write out a set, and I would go up and I would just be essentially reading a new set. But the writing was really, really important to me, and the structure. And I didn't know how to write, so I was like using, I would fold the notebook in half and keep it in my back pocket, but I would write it the way I learned how to take notes in history class in high school, just like a premise on the left side, and then like punchlines and bullet points on the right.
And you're a lefty.
I'm a lefty, yeah. Yeah, and so I would do that every set, and it really clicked. I kind of found a style pretty quickly, like by my second or third open mic.
There was something there.
Yeah.
It's funny because like you're performing in Los Angeles. You don't really know anyone. You're in like a 1-bedroom apartment with 4 people off Gower.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
What are the dreams that you're writing down in your notebook?
Well, pretty early on, I knew, I still have this notebook somewhere. I wrote, I will have a sitcom on NBC and a special on HBO. I might have said 3 specials on HBO. I can't remember if my first time writing it was how ambitious it was. But I wanted NBC because they made shows that I respected and shows that changed comedy and influenced comedy, and I just liked the network. It felt prestigious to me. Same reason for HBO, and HBO is like the last of the like prestige television. And by prestige, I mean, I don't even mean it in a snobbish way. It's just like a thoughtful, creative process.
Did you think it would happen as quickly as it did?
I mean, in the moment, it feels like it's not happening quick enough. You're like, man, am I ever gonna make it? But I do, reflecting, I do know that my career moved pretty fast. It moved pretty fast. It was only like a few years after that that it started happening. In fact, my show got picked up on NBC the week I taped my first HBO special. So it all happened. Yeah.
Can we watch a clip from that first special of yours?
Wow. I haven't seen it in a long time. Yeah.
This is from Love at the Store by Jerrod Carmichael, directed by Spike Lee.
I could be wrong, but I'd imagine the worst time to forget your car keys would be as you're trying to abandon your family. Like, think about it. Like, you walk back in and the kids get so excited. They're like, Daddy's back. And you're like, no, no, no. Just forgot my car keys. I enjoy that act out more than the joke is worth.
Man, young kid.
What did you make of that?
Between Love at the Store and 8, there was some growth as a comic, but the most growth has been between 8 and Rathaniel. But Love at the Store, I can see what Love at the Store has inspired in a lot of comedians. Like each special, I'm trying not to sound like completely arrogant asshole, but I can see my influence. I can see.
Where do you see it?
Well, in that, I think that was like the best of the like contrarian view. It's a type. It's a style, and it's a lot of just like jokes, a lot of grenades just being thrown and challenging all the the sacred beliefs of culture.
A lot of straight men have adopted this personality in their life.
Well, yeah, because it is so. If I continued on that path, I would have nowhere to go. I would be stuck. And before we started dating, my boyfriend said what he thinks is important now are long form interior stories, and that's what I've switched gears into. At that time, it was a lot of jokes, and this is coming at a time. Like Twitter's just getting started, like social media becoming the outlet and the path for comics is still sort of new. I mean, Dane Cook had 1 million MySpace followers before I moved to LA, but for the most part, it wasn't what comedy has become now, like more algorithmic and like trying to, say the spicy thing that gets you a lot of attention. I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of hate for like my contrarian views there.
That special opens with a Trayvon Martin joke.
Yeah, just challenging culture. Like, how much do you believe the things that you're saying? Like,
how much do you really care?
How much do you really care? Talent trumping morals. Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson is guilty, but if he did that to me, I would have bragged about it at school the next day. Like these are things that like. I've heard people say later, like recently. Lately, yeah.
But the kid in that special, the one that you're like, that's a young me.
Yeah.
What do you see?
I see someone excited about his jokes, his notebook. That's the conceit of the special, and I think it didn't quite live up to its idea. Me and Spike got into battles over that special. But the idea was, it was just another. I just got passed at the Comedy Store. This somebody who's recording. I'm recording in the original room. No one ever recorded in there before. I'm doing it because this is the place where I perform all the time, and I wanted the special to be like that, a night at the Comedy Store, because that's where I was in my career, and I was a kid with a folded notebook and some jokes, and these are my jokes, And I thought I was like really good at like just telling jokes, and it got me enough attention to get a special. And I can see the mistakes. But with some time, I'm able to kind of reflect and go like, oh, that's fun. That was exciting. That was an exciting period.
So in this special, but then especially in 8, which Bo Burnham directed,
Yeah.
the jokes feel as if they're delivered from like 30,000 feet above ground. Like there does seem to be some distance, some remove between the jokes and Jerrod the person.
Yeah. 8 was a thing where the craft of the special was better than the material itself.
The directing of it.
The directing, the decisions, like it really just birthed like no intro specials and like that same type of lighting and like kind of camera movement. So
opening on the tight close up.
Yeah, the close up, which only makes sense. Like it has to make sense for the material. But anyway, I wanted to give a speech, and I felt like I was giving a speech and like kind of adapting the jokes to that. But I was also aware of the importance of emotional connection to the words, and I was saying jokes that I liked, but I wasn't like revealing anything, and I wasn't emotionally attached to the performance. So in between, we had 2 tapings. In between tapings, I got drunk trying to connect to. I don't really drink like ever, and at that point, I don't think I'd never been drunk before.
You thought being drunk would help?
I thought it would help me be
emotional.
Yeah, I thought it would help me be emotional and like and feel my way through the set. I was trying to reveal something. I was trying to pour my heart out and give the audience something deeper than just the jokes, but I didn't know how to do that. Like that took some time. I had to go and do a lot of work.
You were trying to access a more emotional, vulnerable part of yourself.
Yeah.
But the material itself, in some ways, did not, I don't think, allowed for it.
No.
So you were trying to access something
that I wasn't saying. Yeah, and it's an impossible situation to be in. I was trying to. Yeah, I didn't know how to do it. I was afraid.
Did you feel stuck?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna do stand-up anymore. Again, before Rathaniel, before finding what I needed to say, I wasn't gonna do it anymore. Because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like write more jokes about the president. I don't really care. Like, I'm gonna do like topical humor for the town that I'm in.
What did you find?
Myself. But doing deep work. Like I also leading up to Rathaniel, I was writing more than I'd ever written. I was reading a lot. I started reading. I started caring about structure. I started caring about, very important book to me. This taught me a lot about storytelling. A Swim in the Pond in the Rain, George Saunders' book, the book is a class, but it's a master class in storytelling. And it's very, very important.
What did that book do for you in terms of crafting Rathaniel?
It helped me hold structure in my head. I didn't have a respect for structure in the way that I do now. Rathaniel is it's stories. It's a compilation of stories, and everything is very deliberate, even the letting go. And I'm holding on to information and releasing information and in a way that I hadn't done before. And I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to grow in it. But reading like reading things, holding stories in my mind helped me a lot.
In some ways, you can track your evolution, if we were to narrow our focus for a second, by the clip we just heard from your first special, which is about a father leaving who then has to come back to get his keys.
Yeah.
And then we can go to 8.
Yeah.
At the end of the special, the joke is The only thing weirder than finding out that your father has a second family is finding out you guys are the second family.
Yeah.
Then you end 8 by going, what else should we talk about?
The ending of 8, saying that, and what else should we talk about, is me. It's me. I'm trying,
But you
I'm really
can't get
trying.
there.
It's effort. Yeah. I'm trying. I'm too young and too afraid.
But then you answer your own question in home videos, in Sermon on the Mount, and Rathaniel, in this new show. What else should we talk about? You lean fully into it.
Yeah.
That to me is just unbelievable that you can track it just by that one bit, which is based on a central truth that you explore in this show, especially in episode 4, where you and your dad are having this conversation about this infidelity, that you're interrogating that reality, something he wanted to long sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
Would you say you loved her, or was it just like sexual, or was it? Because it was a long time. That's what, like 40 years of a relationship. Was it hard every time? Did you feel like a bad person? Did you feel like you were two different people?
Why are you digging into that so deep, son? Why are you doing this?
What's like?
I mean, that was then, this is now.
It's not then. Stop saying it's then. It's also now.
I thought this trip was gonna be about you and I and bonding. Let's stop talking about my past and move on forward.
Okay, I would like to meet my brothers in the future. I'm talking about forward. I'd like to meet them.
You got hostility against me. I got feelings too. The way that you don't want to be hurt, I don't want to be hurt. Is this going to be on your special?
Maybe, probably, yeah, I don't know.
This not has to be discussed on cameras.
I mean, but it's already public. It's public. It's public. You made it public. You had...
No, I didn't make it public.
You had children outside of your marriage. That's the most public thing you can do. Like that, I want to make clear. I'm not making it public. You made it public.
No, and you made it public, girl.
No, but don't. Now that's childish. That's tit for tat. You made it public.
I knew this was coming.
I don't even want to get into an argument about it. I'm saying you're being very defensive.
I knew it was coming.
You're being very defensive over, and I know.
You're not even considering if it bothers me or hurt me or whatever. You hearing on what you want Jerrod to hear.
How do you think it made me feel to be at a high school with my brother and other people knew he was related to me and I didn't know? How do you think that bothered me?
Then you could have came to me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was supposed to come to you and say, Dad,
you coming to me now?
Yeah, because you wouldn't, because you would never. So don't criticize how I come if you weren't going to say anything. You weren't going to do shit. I actually am doing something. Your option is no option. So don't criticize the way I do it. If the cameras help me, then they fucking help. But your way is nothing. Your way is silence. Your way is death. I'm not doing that. I'm being a man. I'm stepping up. I'm actually saying the things. These are your children and your grandchildren. These aren't my kids. I didn't fuck nobody. I didn't have no kids outside of my marriage. I didn't do that. You did that. And you're ashamed of it. I get it. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. I had things I'm ashamed of too, but don't come at me with that shit. And yes, I bring in cameras. And yes, that's my way. And yes, I'm afraid to have these conversations without them. Yes, because I don't think you want to have these conversations. I know you don't. You have the iron fist on all these things. And so however I do it, I'm doing it. But you weren't going to do it.
In those exchanges with your dad, what did you want out of that?
I think I'm always trying to understand myself. I see a lot of myself in my dad, in my behavior.
You can see it on screen.
Yeah, in mannerisms and in cadence. It's so I am my father in many ways. And I'm both proud of that and it scares me. And I I want him to answer things that I'm trying to answer. And so I'm asking these questions about like duality, like, you know, like, were you having more fun with the other family? What were you telling yourself? I want to know what was going on inside of his mind in these moments. And it's a scary place to go because you may say, I may get an answer I don't like, but I need an answer. That's really, really important to me. So I'm looking for myself. And I do know that saying things out loud eradicates shame. And my father's living with a lot of shame, and I've lived with a lot of shame. So I am my father in that way as well. And I want him to say really scary things out loud because I want him to be free.
Because you know from experience.
I know from experience.
That Rathaniel freed you up.
100%. I know that I live that. That's something I know for sure. Oprah says that, and I've been borrowing that a lot in life. Like the things I know for sure, I know that saying uncomfortable truths out loud sets you free.
Bo and some other friends of yours have said that you're creating chaos and destruction in your life by making this show. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've said, no, I'm trying to attempt to fix things, to heal things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in your heart the most effective way to heal things, to fix things, is to address these private matters publicly?
I don't think it's the best way. And that's never been my argument. It's the only answer I had. It's not the best way, but I'm submissive and vulnerable in art, and it allows me to go someplace that I'm afraid to go in life, just day-to-day life. And I'm using art to try and solve my life's problems. It's unorthodox, strange, unethical, maybe, in some ways.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't.
You don't care?
No, because the problem still exists.
Right.
Regardless of the ethics or people's judgment of the ethics or the method, the problem still exists. And I'd like to solve the problem. This is my father said in the episode, he said, I knew it. Like, I knew it. He says that around the fire. He says, I knew you wanted to talk about this. I knew it. If he knew, I was a phone call away. Before cameras are up, he could have said, hey, son, hey, you want to talk about these things? Here, I'm open. Hit me. What do you want to know? I could have said it. I could have called him and like, hey, but I was afraid to do that.
Why were you afraid?
Because, a few reasons. It feels easier to lie. To be honest with you, I think I know the conversation will go the same way even without the cameras. Like I've since then tried to have difficult conversations with my dad.
But if that's the case, why do it with the cameras?
Because it's true, and that's interesting. That is interesting. If we can't talk about it, but I'm gonna make this attempt, and if the result of the attempt is the same, then here, I'll show you me doing it. Because that actually gives okay, well, I can show myself I tried.
Right.
I can show you I tried. That gives some purpose, some meaning to it. Then, like, if it's if Evel Knievel's gonna jump over the bus, you might as well have the camera on it. Because if he misses,
If you're not gonna, it almost seems like if you're not gonna get, if you know in your heart you're not gonna get a satisfying answer, then you at least want to know that you got a program out of it.
Yeah.
And that you made art of it.
Yeah. I made something of it. And I do hope for the answer.
Is that enough for you?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if since the show ended, since I stopped filming, I feel like I have fewer questions. I think this has definitely been a period of like a lot of questioning. Rathaniel is me asking for my mother's love and respect. The show is me questioning who I am and why I am the way that I am.
You had this quote in the New York Times magazine where you said, with family, it's hard moving past the feeling that I'm owed something. What do you think you're owed?
Unconditional love, respect, the love that I give, I want in return.
And they won't offer it.
They're doing their best, and I'm doing my best.
The first time you and I have been quiet.
Yeah.
It's a lot to hold.
Yeah. I love them a lot. And I'm thankful that they did it. I'm thankful they did the show. It was done out of love. It is done out of love.
But it's not enough.
No. At least I wanted to fight for more. At some point, I have to accept, the same way you have to accept change, you have to accept lack of change in others. And so that's okay. And I don't mean that in an empty way. That is okay.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that. But boy, am I fighting. I was fighting. I mean, that's the show. I'm fighting.
Yeah.
I'm trying really, really hard. I'm fighting with everything that I have.
You don't know this, but I've been making the show for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And on episode 50 of the show, I had my mom on.
Mm-hmm.
And on episode 100, I had my father on. And, my parents divorced before I was 1. They remarried a few times over. And that was very much the subject of those interviews. And I put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
The heartbreak in childhood, the heartbreak they felt with each other, the subsequent marriages, the divorces, all the thorny shit.
Yeah.
That makes us us. And I remember people in my life going, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you putting this in public?
It's a very familiar question to me.
I know it is. But the answer for you, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the answer seems to be that you just want acknowledgement.
Yes.
So I have to ask you before we go, at this point, having made this show, what would acknowledgement from your parents look like? When you imagine it in your head, what does it sound like?
It's the ability to go there with me, to not ignore any parts of me that doesn't feel good. And as my sexuality became more than just sex and moved into love in my relationship, acknowledging us has been really important to me. And that's felt really good. When my mother asks about Michael, that feels really good. And I can accept that. I can accept that. Whether she calls him my friend or not, that's something that I think I was really hung up on before, but that is movement for us. And that feels really good. I have to ask you, what did you get from having your parents on?
Well, it's funny. My mom came on first.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, well, I want to go on.
Yeah.
It's never not competitive.
Yeah.
The difference is, since I was a kid, I'd always ask the most personal, intimate, oftentimes invasive questions.
Yeah.
Long before I had a microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
to my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and they would share that openly. I'm sure not everything, but a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when we did it on record, I think I don't know. I think a lot about the end, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you interviewed Tyler for the Flower Boy
Yeah.
record, and you have a quote in there where you say, "When I begin a project, I like to start at the end. We're all going to die."
Yeah. Yeah.
And work backwards.
Yes.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
And I thought, when they're gone, and it's hard because I know they're listening to this, I'd like to have a record of the things that mattered to them, to us. So that's why I did it.
It's very beautifully said. And I feel that. My biggest fear, I have too many biggest fears. Narrow it down, Jerrod. But
yeah, give us your top 5.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought about all of these things coming out at my father's funeral. And I made my father tell my mother about the infidelity.
Right.
It was something that someone asked me recently, like what the difference between my brother and I were. And my brother brought it up to my dad when he was maybe 12 or 13. And my dad denied it and like beat it out of him. He like beat my brother. Like he never hit either of us, but he beat my brother that day. And into not asking questions, into not using his voice. I confronted my dad from a movie set in London. I had a little whiskey and I was just like pacing around. I was like, you gotta tell mom. And I confronted him. And
isn't the first thing you said,
don't lie to me.
This will go okay if you tell the truth.
Yes. Yes. Don't lie to me.
And what was the call?
The call was, there was a lot building up to it because I was really angry and I didn't know how to say it to him. And when I made the call, I said, don't lie to me. And he listened. And I said a lot of things. And he said, okay. He said, okay. Okay. He said, actually, I always knew you'd be the one. This is what he said to me. I say all that to say that without that, I kept playing out the scenario of just another family showing up to his funeral and things getting messy. And my brothers wanting to fight each other.
Right.
People being angry, my mother being hurt. And
you imagine the funeral with the second family.
Yeah, yeah. And that was so much worse to me than home video, Sermon on the Mount, the Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show. That's a far worse scenario to me. And we had different reasons for wanting to go on the record, but that's because so much of my life was off the record that I needed some type of validation. I needed to put things out.
You mean the part of you that you kept secret?
Yeah, the part of my family that we kept secret. I mean, this affected our life. I kept a lot of my life, like my friends from school didn't come to the house. I kept so much of my life separate. I compartmentalized a lot because I was always afraid of my father being found out because something I knew about, and I was afraid of the embarrassment of that. I was like, it felt like the world had something on us. And now you film it, you release it, it's out. The world don't got nothing on us. Like there's a freedom to that. You don't have anything on me. Like when I felt the weight of that my whole life, like that freedom feels good. I'm trying to offer that to my family before the end, before I don't want these things to be a reflection after my parents are gone. And I feel like, they got a lot of good years left where they can be free. They can, they're retired, should be enjoying this. They should be out in the world confident, the head held high. Like I want that for them.
I hear you. I really do. It's just hard.
Yeah.
The whole. It's odd because I don't know. I'm responding in real time with it. Like, I hear the argument you're making. I hear this desire to want to free them. I just wonder, do they see what you're doing in the same light? Do they think that's what you're trying to do? Is that clear to them?
I've said it to them, and
what do they say?
I think it takes time. I just know the worst thing has happened, right? Like you're like that's why skydiving's good for a fear of heights.
Oh, where we started,
or you fell out of the sky. Yeah. you fell out of the sky. You're afraid of heights, and you fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
Like I pushed, like my parents both, they fell out of the sky.
It does seem like you pushed them out.
You know, it was tandem.
There's a difference between you deciding to jump and one being pushed out.
I'm strapped to my father's back.
You're strapped to all their backs.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That is the thing I'm wrestling with you, which is, do you think it's fair that you're the one that gets to decide that?
Well, somebody's got to take action. Someone's got to do something. I say that in the episode with my dad, that his way is silence and his way is death. Someone's got to do something.
That's right.
And it's been a lot of years and nobody was doing nothing. And I offered an imperfect solution, but I offered something.
Yeah. It is imperfect.
It's imperfect. You know, people ask why. Let's start asking why not.
This is why I wanted to get into all this in a way that is not surface level with you.
I appreciate it. This has been maybe the most thoughtful interview of my whole career. Thank you.
The whole crux of the show is people saying, why can't you just leave the past in the past?
Yeah.
Jerrod, let it go unexamined. It's best to be ignored. And we've been having this conversation about your career, about your life now, toggling back and forth between the past and the present, how the two speak to each other, how they inform one another. And I can't help but shake this image of you as a young boy dressed up in an Easter Sunday suit where you delivered a presentation to your parents in order to get $20 to go to the mall. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I used to give presentations, like even pre-PowerPoint. I gave a presentation to get a computer. I gave a presentation to go to the mall.
What was that?
Yeah, if you put on a good enough show, you could.
If you make an argument.
If you make an argument, you'd be rewarded for it.
And you would do that frequently.
Yeah, it was all a performance anyway. So, you know.
Right. You had this quote. You said, you could convince my parents about anything if you made a strong enough argument. And as we leave, I wonder if you see this reality show as an extension of that childhood impulse. Like, do you see this show as a kind of 8-episode argument to have your parents finally see you and themselves?
Oh, for sure. Listen, can't state this clear enough. What I've done is insane. This is insanity.
Yeah.
But
you owe me therapy.
Yeah, but I just want them to see. It's all, look at me, look at us. Dear God.
You're trying to persuade them.
Yes. Listen, it's on HBO. I still care about their opinion more than any reaction, any review. Their opinion still matters like more than anything. Like their capacity for change that matters more than anything. Them seeing me matters more. Them seeing me. That's why it hurts so much when they don't acknowledge the show. It's like, well, it is custom made.
So is your argument not persuasive enough?
Yeah, wait till you see season 2. No. I know, but think about it. Like Rathaniel was an argument. Yeah, my career is just speaking. It's all the everything is a continuation of the last thing. It's it's finding me where I am. And yeah, I don't know. And these things can take some time. They can watch the show. It might be a year from now, might be a couple years from now. Maybe I'll get a call, maybe not. I don't know.
The thing that you've always had, whether it was Jay-Z informing it or Norman Lear informing it, was vision. A vision for yourself, what you wanted to be, who you wanted to be, what you wanted to make and put into this world as an artist.
Yeah.
In the years ahead, what does that vision start to look like? The kid who wrote in the Notebook, I have 3 specials and an NBC sitcom. What does that look like now for you?
The answer that comes to mind, I want to make sure that this is true. I'm trying to make things, make art, specials, television shows, movies, however it comes out, that I can recognize myself in and the truth of myself in, for myself in the future, and in a odd way for myself in the past. And Rick Rubin said a thing that I really, really love: make everything as an offering for God. And these things are offerings. And so how it comes out right now, I'm thinking about how it plays out in stand-up. What do I want to say? What am I trying to say? I'm gathering those thoughts now. And whatever it is, it just has to be true. That's really important to me right now. That things are true. I have to show things I'm ashamed of, some things I shouldn't be ashamed of, and some things that I should. Because that's I think in response to certain thoughts and criticisms about the show, like, it's like, yeah, look, I shouldn't be ashamed of being gay. I should be ashamed of letting my friends down. I'm showing shame, every side of the shame.
There's a quote and a line from a song. The most beautiful thoughts are always beside the darkest.
I wrote that line. It was a good time in Wyoming.
You wrote that for Kanye, and I have to say, I think that is the best way to describe the conversation we've had.
Yeah.
And so I thank you sincerely for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. This has felt really good.
It's been all right?
It's felt really good. I felt safe and excited to talk to you. I'm hoping I lived up to it. I wish that I were, like, I don't know, even more thoughtful. I would love to come back.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
But I hope you know this, and I want you to hold it. You have lived up to it, and it means a whole lot to me that you sat down in this room and was open to being open. I really appreciate it.
You made it easy.
Jerrod Carmichael.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.